Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
Hi, my name is Jen Potter, and I am the host of Networking Now. Today, I am joined by Rob Rains, and he is the owner of Satissima Technology as well as Powerful Identity, two completely different businesses, but one goal, and it's to service people and help relationship building and growth. So he is an IT business for one, and also a relationship and business coach. And I know they sound so different because they really are, but the one commonality is that his goal is to help people grow and learn and create relationships, which we really need to do in networking. And so we start off our show with talking a little bit about the different types of businesses that he has, collaboration over competition, talking about the different networking platforms such as Facebook groups, and LinkedIn and individual LinkedIn posts. And both are so completely different, but also allow us this different opportunity to advertise to different markets. And so today, like I said, I have Rob Rains here from Satissima Technology and Powerful Identity as he tells us a little bit about all of the businesses that he does and how he is able to grow and establish relationships. Stay tuned.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Hi, folks. Robert Quigley here, America's Independent, Washington, D.C. We're on the road to the White House. Today, we're going to talk about Biden's health. Biden has dementia. Team America needs real leadership, not party puppets. His health only gets much worse as time goes by. Biden falls up steps. His usurpers hold his hand to walk across stages. The baby ladder is needed to reach Air Force One through the luggage department. He took $50 million in bribes with his heroin and cocaine-addicted son, who did these drugs in the White House. Biden's too old, too corrupt, and has been in D.C. far too long, 44 years. The extreme left, people who are unwelcome in many houses, control the government. Go to robertquigleyforpresident.com, find the donor box, donate what you can. Team America needs your change. Join our team. Together, we make America work for everybody.
Paid for and approved by the Robert Quigley for President campaign.
Are you a business owner feeling overwhelmed or burnt out with no energy left for what's most important to you? In order to effectively run your business and maximize your profits, you have got to be the best possible you that you can be. Now is the time to reclaim your energy, master your schedule, and maximize your profits so you can effectively run your business rather than it running you. It's time to become the CEO of your business and life. I'm Jen Godet, a business strategist and life coach. I work with overwhelmed business owners who feel stuck in a rut and depleted. I teach you how to stop doing the things that aren't making you money and start prioritizing the things that bring you energy, joy, and lasting impact. I'm a human performance specialist and an international best-selling author. I've helped countless people all over the world to learn the art of saying no, overcome their fear, and maximize their performance. Let's get you to live your best possible reality. Start today and become the CEO of your business and your life.
Hi, my name is Jen Potter, and I am the host of Networking Now. Today, I am joined by Rob of Certissima Technologies. He's decided to come on and talk a little bit about his expertise in the different businesses that he runs, and we have met via networking. Surprise, surprise. So, Rob, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. And if you wanted to just jump right in and tell everyone a little bit about who you are and how we met.
Sure. I live in Massachusetts, and I've grown up here. I am married, and I've got between my kids from my first marriage and 3 stepchildren now, I have a total of 10 children.
Yikes.
So
Every time you say it, it doesn't feel real.
Doesn't feel real, but it sounds real when they're all in the house. But yeah, and then I've got two children-in-law and 1 grandchild as well. So a lot of fun.
That's a full house.
That is a very full house. And I've got 2 businesses that I work in. One is Certissima Technologies, and that is a managed services, an IT managed services company. And then the second is Powerful Identity, which is a coaching company. And both are a lot of fun, and both require quite a bit of networking as well. And you and I did meet through networking, and that was pretty amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, we've been part of the same networking group for quite some time. And so I've really gotten to know a little bit about who you are and what you do. And, it's one of those things where your business is something that I don't necessarily have to always be around, but it's something that's super important. So you manage IT solutions, and in your world, can you tell a little bit, to our audience what it is that you actually do for Certissima?
Sure. So I'm one of 3 owners of the company, and my role began as a technical role and has now transitioned mostly into sales. I do a little bit of the tech work and most of the sales and marketing work. And that's, I think, where the networking comes in. I really enjoy that a lot. I love being with people too much to be crawling under a desk or stuck in a server room. But what we do for companies really is everything. If you think about any company, everything that company does, whether they're sales department or their distribution department or their manufacturing or their financial, whatever, every department of every company, IT is the base. IT is underlying their systems and processes. And so we're basically just keeping them up and running. It's not very sexy. We don't wonder why we don't get invited to parties. We already know, we're the IT people, but we do a really important job, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, I think that that's important to really note, right? Especially, when you're networking and you're explaining to people what it is that you're doing. Because to be honest, again, it's something that I wouldn't have necessarily said, oh, I know exactly what you do. So over time, getting to know you and getting to network with you and listening to, the industries that you service, I feel like it's really helped me to understand why your company is so important. So yes, it's not necessarily always sexy because, to me, I'm like, sounds kind of boring, but it's really not. It's really important. So, definitely not. I know your job's not boring, but it's something that I'm not in, right? So I think it's really great. And so we met in a networking group called Success Champion Networking, and both of us have been a part of it for quite some time. And how has networking helped to grow your business? And we'll start with the IT business. What is it about the networking that has allowed you to really expand your business and your footprint?
Sure. It's all about who you know. It's all about introductions, and as you well know. And what I'm finding out is that usually the first person that I talk to in a meeting or an introduction from them, the first person I talk to is usually not going to be a customer, and that's fine, or a client. Typically, it's two or three levels away from that. And so really, it's all about meeting a core group of people, figuring out what they need and want, and helping them get it. And then so often, making an ask when it's appropriate, and then meeting the next group of people, expanding that network out a level. And usually 2 or 3 levels in, I'll find a client, prospective client, and then be able to converse with them.
So I feel, from a networking standpoint, is there a level of stress that kind of comes with that, with knowing that you have to work multiple levels in order to find that client? Because it almost seems like it's almost more of a niche in order to get to that actual client.
I don't see it as stress. Some people might, and that's
It sounds stressful to me.
a super fair question. To me, it's more like a 5-year-old at the beach, and dad says, here's a bucket and a shovel. Go see how many starfish you can find. And so it's like, all right, I'm just going to go out and look. And so it's not the finding of the starfish is really, really fun, but the going out and looking is also really fun.
I love that. I love the dad analogy specifically. Like, here's the bucket, go find starfish. I have 10 kids, give them all buckets. This is the only way I'm going to be able to get through the day. No.
That's right. It's the only way your mom and I are going to be able to sit on the beach for a few minutes. Yeah.
And have a conversation. No, but that it's true, right? Like, I feel like some people look at it as it could be a lot of work. For me personally, we all know I love networking. So I love talking to different people and really making that connection. And for me, when I'm connecting with people, we talked about this before the show even, came on. I'm never trying to actually sell somebody on anything that I'm doing. And it's because, just like you, sometimes my client is a little further down that line. So really just getting out there, telling people what we're doing, how we're doing it, and it's going to slowly start to build that rapport. And so relationship building for me, I know, is super important. So I'm going to just naturally assume that's super important for you, especially if you're working on tier 2, tier 3 of that referral base.
It is very much. This is what I'm going to say applies to both the IT business and my coaching business. But really, this is going to sound kind of woo-woo, but you can't really sell someone something if you don't care about them, if you don't love them first. And I'm not talking about being romantically involved with them. I just mean you've got to have some level of care for that person before you can truly sell them something. Yeah, you can twist their arm and force them into a relationship that may not work, but really sell them and have them want to come back and have an experience. You've got to create a great experience for them and care about them. And so, yes, the networking is just an extension of that. You care about the people you're talking to. They may not be your clients, and that's fine, but you're going to help them get something they need, and they're going to help you get something you need in return, and you're going to keep doing that.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I mean, for me personally, I think it's about really caring about the person that you're talking to, getting to build that rapport and that relationship. Because if you don't have a solid foundation with the relationship that you're building, you're not going to be setting yourself up for success. And I think that's why it's so important to find networking groups that really fit. And so, assuming as you're kind of going through, and you're probably a little bit more particular about the client that you work with, Have you found that there are some networking groups that work better than others? Or do you prefer things like in person or online? What are your thoughts when it comes to like really reaching out and working with different networking groups aside from the one that we do?
You bet. Sure. I've found, so I've worked with BNI, if I'm able to share the names of different networking groups. I've worked with SCN, Success Champion networking groups. And then I've also worked with networking groups that didn't have, they weren't a franchise or part of a larger nationwide group. They were just small individual groups where people got together and said, hey, we should refer business to each other. What I'll just call local referral groups. And the ones that I personally have found to be the most effective were the ones that were where each of the members was B2B, where they were selling to other businesses and not selling to individual clients. Now, again, not putting that down, there are some great groups that I think work with, B2C, and they network and do things together. But I found that network groups that are heavy on the B2C tend to be groups of people that are selling to the room.
Right.
For me, that doesn't work as well. But for some people that may.
Right. So, but it's also your business, right? So, when it really comes down to it, you're working with ideally your ideal customer based off of what you do, I would assume would be a business, right?
Absolutely.
So, you're not trying to sell to the natural consumer, such as myself, who may need some type of home IT service. So, being in a room full of other business owners just seems to make sense. Where for me, some of my businesses service businesses and some of them serve clients. But it's funny because I prefer to network with business to business, even though most of my clients are service based. So I do find it interesting because you never quite know what type of business someone is looking to sell to or what type of client, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I do find that really interesting because I mean, you could totally sell to an average person, but are they going to turn around and talk about you to other businesses? Probably not, right? So I think that that's important. And, so when you're part of these networking groups, do you attend a lot in person or are you still predominantly like online?
They're mostly online, especially since COVID. They're almost exclusively online. I've had a few that I've done in person since COVID, but like chamber meetings, but most are online.
I prefer online these days. And, some people will give me a really hard time. I really love in person meetings. But if I want to go to a 1 hour meeting, I have to say, okay, that's going to be 3 hours of my time. Right. And I feel like in a world of efficiency, how many of those can we actually make happen when we're trying to do a sale? And how much time do we have to actually put into it in order to make it happen? And, in your line of business, doing what you're doing, are you predominantly still remote as well, or do you go to a lot of different locations for work?
Great question. So our tech team, our service team, is a mix of the two. We do a lot of work remotely, and then we do a lot on site. And we find that clients still do appreciate very much having someone on site. My role is mostly sales, and so I would say it's about a 50-50 mix. I do a lot of the beginning, the marketing and the initial sales work and quoting and things like that. I do very well from home and lots of Teams and Zoom meetings. However, in the end, getting on site, seeing someone in person, shaking their hand, smiling at them, that is what makes a real difference.
Oh, I definitely think so. And, just as long as there's some point of contact, I feel like it makes it, it seals the deal. But because I do a lot of hybrid work as well. And, just knowing that we can do a lot of our work from the computer, from our home, from a remote access type of standpoint, I feel like it's really made such a huge difference, both, in the networking world and the real world. And I found since COVID, I, love being online. Like I love just being able to sit down and say, okay, I have this meeting. It's 1 hour long. When we're recording for the show, I get to say, okay, this is great. We get to record and then I can get up and I can go cook dinner. So
Right.
it's great. And I feel like you're just as efficient. Some people beg to differ and say, I prefer to be more in person. But if you can get that sale online and then be able to go in person and kind of seal the deal, I feel like, hey, it's also a win, spend
Yeah.
a little less time in person. So I love that. I think that that's awesome. And, I was going to also ask, we did slowly start to talk a little bit about your other business. So you not only have this, this IT business that you're using or that you have, but then you also have this other business. And before we cut to break, I want you to tell us a little bit about what this business is. And then when we come back, we're going to dive right into it.
Sure. It's a coaching business. I'm a certified relationship and life coach, and I love teaching people how to create safe emotional spaces in all kinds of relationships, whether it's romantic or parent-child relationships or friend relationships or business relationships.
And I love that. And so when we come back, we're going to dive into a little bit about what you do for your coaching business, how it ties into your IT business and brings everything together. So I'm Jen. I am the host of Networking Now, and we'll be right back.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Hi, folks. Robert Quigley here, America's Independent, Washington, D.C. We're on the road to the White House. Republican conservatism failed. Reagan, free trade, everybody will find a niche, failed. Infinite consumption on a finite planet was always doomed to fail. Countless small towns across America stand empty, hollowed out. Communities are losing their young to big, unsustainable cities by the millions. We will reshore Asian production. We will recreate the Shire, small towns and villages. We will make and consume local products. Just throttling back international trade saves humanity from fossil fuel suicide. Most on the right know big government is needed to solve some problems. Go to robertquigleyforpresident.com. Find the donor box button. Team America needs your dollars. Join, and together we will make America work for all of us.
Paid for and approved by the Robert Quigley for President campaign.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
Thank you so much for coming back. I am Jen, the host of Networking Now, and I am joined with Rob Rains of Certissima Technologies. But Certissima isn't the only company that he owns. He actually is also a life coach and a life relationship coach. And he started to tell us a little bit about what that looked like before we cut to break. So, Rob, tell me a little bit about what a relationship and life coach actually looks like, and what do you do?
Sure. In life coaching in general, I'm working with a client, usually an individual, but sometimes groups, and teaching them how to attain their whatever it is that they desire to attain in life. So they may have a very specific goal, like I'm trying to improve a relationship, or I'm trying to make more money, or I'm trying to hit a specific health goal. And in each of these cases, I'm just helping them attain the mindset required to do it, pull in the thoughts and belief patterns that will help them attain that, and then set up a plan and work toward that. The relationship piece of life coaching is the area where I have expertise. And that is more about teaching people why they react the way that they react to different stimuli, and teaching them how other people react too, and then how they can look at that differently. And most of all, the most important piece is teaching them how to create a safe emotional space within themselves so that they can walk into any interaction and create a safe emotional space for the other person. You cannot pour from an empty cup if you don't have self-love. You can't love another person if you don't have self-respect. You can't respect another person, and so forth. And so teaching them how to build to truly have those things inside at the beginning, and then to bring that to the table, is a really fun and powerful thing.
And I think that that's really interesting. And through your journey through entrepreneurship and, having the other business that you have plus this business, how did you become a life and relationship coach?
Sure. So it started actually while I was married to my first wife, and I began a journey of just improvement in health, in all sorts of things, and attained some success very quickly. And so I just naturally had some people reaching out saying, hey, how did you do this? How did you do that? I used to, for example, be, about 400 pounds. And so I was, much larger. And as I lost a lot of weight, I put a little back on during COVID, unfortunately, but as I lost a lot of weight, people were like, oh, how did you do that? Talk to me about that. Teach me. And so I started with that, but health coaching wasn't really a draw. It was just more something I did as a favor. And then, but I found that teaching people how to attain goals and how to be their best selves was really something that lit me up, something that was fun, and teaching them why. In fact, the name of the coaching business, Powerful Identity, learning how identity fits into how someone behaves, and how making small shifts in their identity can help them to overcome the habits that are difficult to overcome. That became a passion for me. And then I went through a divorce in late 2019, very early 2020, just before COVID. And during that time, I was, with my first wife, I have 7 children, and the youngest 4 were living with me full time during COVID. So it was a lot of transition at once. And so I was newly single. I was trying to get out there and date once in a while. I was working full time in my IT business, doing a little bit of coaching here and there, and then caring for my children. And there was just so much going on that I just did a whole lot of growing in a very short time. I received a lot of coaching and therapy, and then that just helped me to learn a lot of things that transitioned into coaching. And I created an online Facebook group for like-minded people that were also single, and grew it to 2,800 people in about 2 years.
Yeah, that's powerful.
It was a lot of fun, and that gave me a place to learn a lot from other people about what they were thinking, what they were experiencing, and so forth. And so that just helped me to refine my coaching a lot.
Which is really interesting, right? And I feel like coaching can directly correlate to networking. And we talked about that, off the air, about how, being a part of these groups and being a part of, being a coach, it leads you to connect with a lot of different people and a lot of people going through a bunch of different things. And it's really interesting how your own personal life was kind of the driving factor for you to create this group, for you to, kind of continue to get out there and and help other people doing something that you're doing. So coaching is something that I am a big advocate for. I think everyone should have a coach or have a mentor or have somebody, to help guide them, especially as they're going through things, because I feel like we're always learning and we're always growing. So I love the specialty in it, because sometimes we just get so caught up in the things that we're doing in the everyday that we do lose our identity. We do lose some of the things that we're doing, and we have to be reminded. And so, when you were telling me about your journey and about what you created and how you created it, and then you told me what it meant, and it was just kind of like that moment, like, oh, that is powerful. That is, it is so easy to lose that identity. And I think it's amazing that you refound that. And on top of all of those things that you're doing, you did also mention to me, and I've known you for some time, I didn't know that you were a podcast co-host. So who do you service for the podcast? Because I thought that was really cool.
Sure. It's a fairly new podcast. We my co-host and I started last year, and we've recorded a number of sessions, but we're just beginning to get them on the air. The podcast is Awake and Arise, and it's a podcast for Christian men. And I do that with my co-host Heidi McLean. She's also a life and relationship and motivational coach.
So that's really cool. So you're able to, even get out there a little bit more and talk about the things that you're working on, and help like another target demographic, which I think is really awesome. Podcasting is really cool, and so definitely we'll make sure to put those in the show notes, so we can, if anyone's interested in checking out the podcast and getting that podcast out there. I told you, before, it's something that it might not be my target demographic, it's not pointed towards me, but I'm still really interested to hear it and hear about all the things that you're talking about. So I think that that's really awesome. And so now that you created the group, you were telling me something interesting about the group, that you actually left the group that you created, and what was the reasoning for leaving the group that you created and continuing on your coaching journey?
Sure. So I got married this past May of 2023. And so obviously, thank you so much. Obviously, getting engaged and married, I really no longer belonged in a group that was created for and exclusively for singles. I had also gathered around me a number of really capable admins, and so I was able to hand off the group to them, and they continue to moderate it to this day, and it's a lot of fun.
I think that that's really awesome, and it allowed you to continue on the journey that you have created and continuing to grow and flourish through those businesses, which I think is really awesome. And so when we were talking about it a little bit before, because I'm really interested in this part too, you started your coaching while you already had, your IT business. Is there any crossover between the IT business and the coaching business, or are they two completely separate businesses? That's
a great question, because when I first began that, I'll be honest, IT is cool and it's fun, and I get to do sales, and it's enjoyable, but it didn't really light me up like coaching does. And so I used to see them as opposites. Like, the IT was the thing I didn't do, or my heart wasn't quite in, and the coaching was. And the truth is, my heart is in both. But there is a big crossover, and I had to find that in order to, for the both to light me up. And that is, they're both centered around people. And the coaching is all about people. It's all about loving people, having a care for them, and wanting them to have their best experience. And the tools that I teach a couple or a person in relationship coaching are the very same tools that I'm using as I'm sitting across the table from somebody, helping them to choose the right IT managed services plan for their business.
I think that's really interesting. And I find it really cool that you're able to correlate the two. Because for me, I'm like, how in the world did these two cross? And then you said it, and I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. But I would imagine that the networking for these two businesses are completely different. So I mean, I'm sure there are some groups that you can probably go to, because I know you were saying with IT, it's business to business, but you also have groups and you also have direct clients. So how do you find marketing and networking different for this other business?
Sure. So I still go to similar networking groups, but I find that I talk to different people. So when I'm talking about an IT business, I'm talking to the accountants, the CPAs, the lawyers, and people like that. And then when I'm talking about coaching or seeking to further coaching, I'm typically talking to other coaches or health professionals or just people that work with individuals, and that tends to be that. So it's just a matter of figuring out which person I'm going to talk to about which business.
Oh, I like that. And, it's funny because my head didn't even go to talk to other coaches when I'm thinking like the relationship building. Now, as a coach myself, you would have thought that that would jump into my head, but it didn't. And as soon as you're like, oh, I talked to these other people, like that just makes a lot of sense. So thanks for tying those two in. Because I think it's really important. And I think, when we're talking to other coaches, I tell people this all the time. I love pairing up and collaborating with other coaches and talking about, the clients that I'm looking for, the people that I'm working with, because all of us are so different, right? So I, as a person who, like myself, like I concentrate on business and life strategy, and yours is more on the relationship side. If I have someone coming to me and they're saying, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking to work on the relationship so I can build the rest of my, my business or whatever. I need people that I can refer clients to if they're looking for something more targeted, right?
Yes.
Because I would be able to help them, but I also feel like that would do a disjustice if I didn't help find them that was, someone who is a little bit more qualified in the sense of that is what your specialty is. And so I really do love that. And for me, networking with other coaches is so important. And there are a lot of coaches that don't like to play in that same sandbox, right? And, I feel that really isolates you and puts you in a place of, if you work with other people and you talk to other people who are also in a similar industry, it allows us to get more business and also work with our reputation. And I think that that's really important.
I agree. And just, again, speaking as a coach, putting on my coaching hat for a second, coaches that do that, coaches that say, I don't want to work with other coaches, I don't want to collaborate, their mindset, if you look at that, there's an underlying fear. Your success takes away from my success. That's the belief, right? Whether it's true or not, that's the belief. And that generates fear. And so now they subconsciously avoid situations where they're working with another coach. On the flip side, I seek coaches because I believe your success doesn't take away from my success. Absolutely. It can add to it. And your joy is my joy too. I want to see your success. I also, enjoy my success, and we're not sharing a limited pie here. And so collaborating with other people just creates, right? It's this very creative thing. And so those with a very limited mindset of lack and of limitation, they avoid those collaborations. So they end up losing opportunities, and therefore it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. They create their own lack. Whereas those who feel abundance and are willing to collaborate, because that's just the way to do it, right? We're ever expanding and working with others. They tend to have more abundance flow in, and everyone just goes, "Oh, wow, they're really lucky." It's like, no,
that's not luck.
Literally changing a thought.
Right. And, I love that thought process for myself included. Collaboration is so important to me. Working with other people is so important to me. As a person who owns several businesses myself, it's important to work with other people who are also in the industry. And when we're networking, I've watched this shift over the past several years where there were other networking groups that we may or may not have mentioned, but other networking groups that are like, there's only one coach and there's only one insurance agent and there's only one of this. I understand the thought process of only having one of, but what if that one of doesn't fit everybody else, right? And so opening that mindset of, it's okay to have more than one person. It's okay to network with other people, and watching that shift. And I think especially since COVID, I've noticed a huge change. And like you said, abundance. I'm a firm believer that we all can sit at the top. There are millions of people in this world and there's only one of us. So how many people can we actually service on our own? So when we change our mindset, I feel like everything else around us changes. And I think that that's so important. And I can't believe that was like the quickest segment. So we are going to cut to commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk with Rob of Certissima Technology and also Powerful Identity, and talk a little bit more about networking and collaboration. Stay tuned.
folks, Robert Quigley here, America's Independent, Washington, D.C. We're on the road to the White House. Today, it's common sense solutions. Millions walk around every day with a voice inside their head that says, the system is making my life difficult. Government's job is to serve, support, and back up the needs of all Americans. For decades, we have lived, no, we've been held hostage by the tyranny of the law. Laws are like paper cuts. Too many, and we die. Together, we will repeal thousands of pointless, oppressive laws. Compassion, collaboration, and common sense solutions guide our team. A government reset is needed. What is the price? Your vote. A few dollars. Go to robertquigleyforpresident.com. Find the donor box button. Donate your tips or whatever you can. Team America needs you. Together, we will make America work for everybody.
Paid for and approved by the Robert Quigley for President campaign.
Hi, my name is Michelle Merhar. You may remember me from the morning news. I'd like to tell you how getting data and documents into action fast gives you a competitive edge. Digital-first thinking to manage document workflows efficiently are giving all organizations a competitive edge. In fact, digital document automation is an essential process, helping us to become more profitable and to compete. By making any process paperless with secure automation, decisions can be made efficiently, virtually from anywhere. You'll be able to find and share documents securely in seconds. Your staff will be empowered by making optimal use of every office hour. And by the way, the size of your organization doesn't matter. Precision Products has been helping organizations for more than 30 years with paper to digital processes, including scanning systems for any document to premises and cloud document management systems. We make it easy and scalable for your business process needs from the office or other locations, even mobile devices. Contact us to see how we can help your organization succeed. Contact Will Waterall direct at 713-446-5939 and visit us on the web at precisionproductsinc.com.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
Thank you so much for coming back. I am Jen Potter, and I am the host of Networking Now, and I am joined with Rob Rains. We have been talking about so many different things about networking and business and the two different businesses that he has, how different they are, but yet how the same they really are. And before the break, we were talking about collaboration over competition, working with people that are just like us in order to get our business to thrive. And, you know, I had to put all these fun words together, but powerful collaboration can be with relationship building. And if we are able to relationship build and collaborate with other people, we're going to continue to grow our businesses, and we're going to really exceed our expectations because we're making things more profitable. And so as we were going into our different types of businesses and the different things that we were working on, we also talked about networking and also marketing. So crossing the two of them, networking and marketing, you have two completely different businesses. Could you tell me a little bit about, you were able to bring both of your businesses together and say, I can network and talk about either or business depending on who I'm talking to. Can you do the same on social media? Are you just as, you know, successful in each social media platform, or do you go one for one and one for the other?
it's hard to be successful at two very differing businesses on the same social media platform. And in a place like LinkedIn, where it doesn't really work to have two separate LinkedIn profiles, I find that I kind of need to do, so Certissima, the IT business, I really promote that on LinkedIn. And then my coaching business, relationship coaching, I promote that more on Facebook and in private groups. For example, I have a Facebook group. So this harks back to when I created the group for middle-aged singles. I did a break-off group for just men, and I would send surveys to the women in the group and ask them to voluntarily fill out a survey, an anonymous survey, and then and they would know that I was sharing the answers with men, and I would take those anonymous answers and I'd share them with the men in my break-off in my private group. And so I created that group. And so even though I left the singles group when I married, I've still got this private group, men's only group. And most of the men in it are single at this time. And so I'm able to offer coaching in there. The group is called Towers of Strength. It's on Facebook. And that's a source of coaching. And there are some other groups that I do as well. So Facebook is a lot better for me for coaching. LinkedIn a lot better for the IT business.
I think that's really interesting, and because, being in the group section of Facebook as a person who is a coach myself, I find it to be almost overwhelming. So when you're, looking for groups to advertise or to talk in, what kind of strategies do you have when you're looking to be a part of those groups? Because inevitably being in a group is also networking. So how do you find the ones that best fit what you're looking for?
So when I'm looking for a group to be a member of, so in the Towers of Strength example, I'm the leader of the group, right? I started that. But if I'm looking for a group to be a member of, what I'll do is just, if it's interesting to me, if it seems to correlate by its name and description, if it correlates with what I do, I'll join the group and I'll kind of sit. I don't want to say lurker, but I want to sit and I'll comment very little. I'll comment here and there. But what I want to do is get a sense of how people talk to each other and how people post. And if their posts are genuinely about helping somebody else, then there's a pretty good resonance. And then I jump in and post more often, and not only post, but comment on others' posts and lift and try and help. If most of the posts are about advertising themselves, then it's probably not a group that's going to be helpful to me, or at least not resonate with my ideals. And so I usually will bow out of that group.
That's actually a really good tip, because I find that, as I've been trying to get a little bit more into the groups, because like I said, I was kind of overwhelmed by all of them and trying to find, the ones that fit. So I do join some, and then sometimes we don't always get notifications. So trying to turn them on, not be overwhelmed by all of them. So it is really hard to find the ones that really work. But when you do, I would just naturally guess that you're probably getting some clients from these groups. Is that correct?
Yes. And the interesting thing, and this works through both on Facebook with coaching and on LinkedIn with IT. If I go and create a post, so I walked into LinkedIn with the assumption that if I post, people will, seek my business, right? They'll want to do business with me. That is simply not the case. I have not found that to be the case. When I post, people are like, oh, okay, there's a little bit of engagement, some comments here and there. But when I comment on other people's posts, and I do it in a sincere way, not in a self-promotional way, but when I do it authentically and often share something heartfelt, I get a lot more views from that. More people will jump in and go, who is this guy that just said that? That resonates with me. I think that too. And then they care about the person who with the original post, they care about that person. And I say something nice about that person. And so they're like, oh, all right, I like this guy because he likes the same person that I like. And again, I'm not being inauthentic. I genuinely care about that person. And so they jump in and they're like, all right, who's this Rob guy? And then they'll go look at my profile, and then they'll look at my company. And my company gets more views off of that than it ever did off of any original post that Certissima does.
And so do you post as yourself when you go on LinkedIn, or do you post as Certissima?
I typically post as Certissima. I very rarely post as myself. I comment on others' posts as myself.
Okay. That's really good to know, because I'm trying to always get some new tips and tricks when it comes to LinkedIn, because I feel like I don't do as much work in LinkedIn as I know I should. And every time I get on here and a guest is like, this is where I go, and I just ask myself, I'm like, why don't I utilize these platforms the way that they're meant to be utilized? And it's almost like ignorance is bliss. I'm like, if I don't know how to do it, then I don't have to do it. But I feel like in order to continue to grow and to find the clients and find the people that I really want to connect with, it's always LinkedIn. Like
Yeah.
whenever I'm in meetings, like I'm always looking at LinkedIn. When I want to know about somebody and their business and their credibility, it's always LinkedIn. And so like I always give the suggestion of you need to go in LinkedIn, and then I remind myself, like, this is always my reminder. Okay, it's Tuesday, get into LinkedIn and make a habit of it. And I find that the more that I get myself there as business, I feel like that's where my people really are, especially for the for me, for coaching, because a lot of my coaching is business. But I'm really interested in learning how to kind of get more into the Facebook groups. So suggestions for getting into Facebook groups. Wow, mouthful, couldn't even say it. What do you suggest? So I look for things like keywords and phrases for what I'm looking for. Is that what you would suggest? And try to just find groups that fit?
Absolutely. So if, for example, if you're your ideal client, then describe yourself in a few words in the group finder, and you'll find some groups. Or if you know your ideal client, you have that avatar really tightly defined, go in and throw some of those words in, and you'll often, in my experience, find something. So, when I was creating a group for mid-singles, these happen to be mid-singles of a particular religion, I just put in the name of the religion, singles, and like an age range in the name. And I found a few groups that I could join. And then I created one that differed from them in name a little bit. And like I said, grew it to 2,800 without poaching from the other groups. And that was a lot of fun.
And I found that really to be really cool. And, so we talked about like the Facebook groups. How about, something else I'm interested in is LinkedIn groups. Do you utilize those at all? Because I know that those have been trending a little bit, but I also feel like it's an area that I haven't really, put my feet into yet.
I'm a member of maybe 2 or 3, and I honestly don't use them very much at all. I really enjoy reading posts from people that, not from a group, but from individuals, and then commenting on those posts. And that tends to be the most engaging way to connect with people.
Because it's showing that authenticity, right? And that was something that I know you said was really important prior to. And, one of the things that we were talking about prior to or after the commercial break, we were talking a little bit about some tips and tricks that you had. And you told me something that I thought was really amazing. It did connect with me on a personal level, but I'd love for you to talk about something that you suggested that you learned from Chris Voss. And who's Chris Voss?
Sure. So Chris Voss is possibly still is a professional hostage negotiator. He worked with the FBI. He worked internationally, very, very talented, incredible hostage negotiator. And he wrote a book called Never Split the Difference, which is how I heard of him. And I've been reading the book recently and took some of the tips and tricks that he shared and put one very, immediately today into practice. I've tried it a few times, but really had some success today. And that is that when we are seeking to further a relationship, whether business or otherwise, we kind of try and push people, almost corner them into a yes. And we're scared of, we have this deep fear of someone saying no about whatever it is we're talking about. That is the most frequent. That's the reason why people always say, I hate sales. They're afraid of the no. And he actually said, getting people to, cornering them into a yes, you're always going to get a fake yes. It's the worst thing in the world. They're going to say that to get you out the door. They're going to say that to shut you up, but it's insincere. The final yes is important, but that's where, with ink on the paper and a check in your hand. But
right.
But long before that yes, you actually want to push them to no, because when they say yes, they feel like they're giving something up. Right. They feel like they're losing. There's this energy of loss. But when they say no, there's an energy of empowerment. They feel autonomous. I am in charge. I'm in control, and I can veto this guy anytime. And so I actually, early in the conversation, try and get them to say no. The example today is we were in a meeting with a client. Our team had been trying to get them to accept a certain date as a cutoff date in a project, and they'd been dragging their feet. And understandably, I had some fears. And I got them quickly to say no. I immediately suggested a date that was sooner than I knew that they were comfortable with, and also sooner than the one we wanted. And they said, no, we're not comfortable with that. And I said, okay, that's fine. No problem. Would you be comfortable with this over here? And they're like, no. I said, okay, great. I did that intentionally because after they shared why, that they were uncomfortable, I said, would you mind telling me why? Can we talk into this? And they began to go into why they were uncomfortable. And they actually opened up and shared something they hadn't shared in previous calls. And I was able to use that fear to say, okay, if we address this fear in this special way, would you feel more comfortable? And they're like, oh, yeah, I think we would. Okay, well, we commit to do that, and we'll do these other things. And by the end of the call, they had not only committed to a date, but it was only one day after the date that my team had set as the goal. And we were like, well, that works. We can work with that. And
you're like, I learned this today.
Yeah, just simply get them to say no a few times, and they feel in control, and then they open up much better. It was a lot of fun.
I think that's so awesome. And, I was getting so excited when we talked about it in between the commercial break. And I'm like, we have to talk about this again because, that book is a really awesome book. I definitely need to read it again. And, just those small reminders, those small, we're always looking for the heartstrings. Even when we're networking, we're trying to get people to give us a referral. Well, if we're not trying to sell them, but we're trying to get more information out of them, I definitely feel like, as soon as you said it, I felt like it calmed me down because I'm like, when somebody's trying to sell me, I'm the salesperson. Nobody sells me, right? So it made me instantly go, oh, I like that. So that's a really awesome tip. So thank you so much for sharing that. And before we run out of time, I would love for you to tell everyone again the names of your business, the names of your podcast, and the groups that you're in, and how everybody can get a hold of you. And if worse comes to worse and they can't figure out how to find you, they can reach out to me directly so I can connect you. So.
You bet. For IT managed services, my company is Certissima Technologies. And for relationship and life coaching, my company is Powerful Identity Coaching. And both powerfulidentity.com and certissima.com are websites, and they have contact information for me. Rob at certissima.com and Rob at powerfulidentity.com are both are emails that will both reach me. And then you asked about podcasts. The podcast that I co-host with Heidi McLean is Awake and Arise, and it's specifically a relationship podcast for Christian men.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. It's been a pleasure having you on and talking about all of the things. And, as long as I've known you, I got to learn a lot of new, interesting things about you today. So thank you so much. My name is Jen Potter. I am the host of Networking Now. Today, I was joined by Rob Rains of Certissima Technology and Powerful Identity. And so if you're looking to get a hold of him, or you have some IT questions or personal relationship questions, he is the person for you. Have a great day. And thank you so much for joining us.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
The legal profession is not immune to the disruptive power of artificial intelligence. AI is reshaping the way lawyers research, analyze, and manage legal matters. AI-powered legal research tools can sift through vast volumes of legal documents, statutes, and case law in seconds, providing lawyers with comprehensive insights to build their cases. In courtrooms, AI is used to manage and present digital evidence effectively. It can organize and analyze evidence, making complex cases more understandable for judges and juries. In contract review, AI quickly identifies potential risks, inconsistencies, and compliance issues in legal contracts, saving valuable time and reducing human errors. The future of law is being shaped by AI. AI is streamlining legal research, improving courtroom presentations, enhancing contract analysis, and making legal information more efficient and accessible. Data Dive, infinite insights instantly.
Hi, folks. Robert Quigley here, America's Independent, Washington, D.C. We're on the road to the White House. Today, who are my favorite presidents? Well, they're Teddy Roosevelt, Dwight Eisenhower, Jimmy Carter, and, of course, Andrew Jackson. Teddy Roosevelt was a great outdoorsman, so am I. Dwight Eisenhower, a war hero and a Republican president that showed that big government can do great things if managed properly. Jimmy Carter was very unpopular in his lifetime. However, he did show how great of a senior statesman he was post-presidency. Andrew Jackson, I love Andrew Jackson. Forget about the slavery